Hi, I'm Joanna Fantozzi, Associate Editor with Nation's Restaurant News, and we're here with Matt Hardings, Senior Vice President of Culinary and Menu Innovation at Columbus, Ohio-based Piada Italian Street Food. Matt's going to talk to us a bit about drive-thru innovation and how Piada's store footprint is evolving. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, it seems like the pandemic really has changed how a lot of brands are approaching their store footprint. It seems like everyone is either implementing, expanding, or modernizing their drive-through. Do you think that drive-through focused stores are the future of quick service and fast casual experience?
You know, whether it's drive-through or pickup window, I think the customization piece that began with, kind of create your own, that's just flowing into every facet of the consumer use of a product or a service. So, not only can they order what they'd like and omit things, but they can pick it up a special way, and I think any restaurant company that is really going to win the day is going to make all of those access points completely available for the guest because ultimately they're going to choose by convenience.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. It seems like convenience technology, as I like to call it, is really the future of food service in general, no matter who you are.
Yes.
And could you tell me a bit about the drive-through pilot program and what your company has learned from the experience with that?
Sure. So our visionary leader, Chris, the CEO, when he began Piata 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now, he put drive pickup windows in each one of the restaurants in the first, 8 or 10. And just kind of, it languished a little bit. We didn't really get a lot of traction on it, but he thought about how guests wanted to access the restaurants. And, we went through a couple of cycles, but over the last couple of years, and it hasn't really, it's been exacerbated by the pandemic, but what has happened is that it's just moved where the guest was already going much, much, much quicker. It compressed 3 to 4 years, 5 years into, immediately. So, we have focused on the drive-through. We did a drive-through test in Cleveland, Ohio. And what we figured out, we upgraded the KDS system that we had in the back to service. We've always had second make lines, more or less, in most of the stores. A year and a half ago, we put 2 make lines in each store. So with the to-go beta test in particular, what we saw was we could cut wait times in half easily. Just by using technology and by focusing on the guest experience, rearranging the line, moving some physical pieces from one end of the line to the other. Not only did it get us our food quicker, but it minimized guest comments where we were missing a protein or we had forgotten an item. By actually moving it to the way you build the food item, it made it much, much easier. I know it sounds very simple and simplistic, but when you begin a process that doesn't have a large footprint. When we began doing the to-go lines, and we've gone through a couple of rounds of upgrading them, it was really about the space that we had in the restaurant. And now when we design restaurants, it's the first thing that we do. The idea is, we want to look for a piece of real estate, obviously like everybody else, that's got an end cap and has the ability to do a pickup window. What we found in fast casual is that although a drive-through is, something that everybody can latch onto, a pickup window really works better with the computer that everybody holds in their hand. Our guests are used to ordering ahead and kind of letting us know where they want to pick up the food, and then driving up to a window, not having to deal with the wait in line, and then just drive off with the food. So in every store that we have a pickup window, when you go to mypiada.com and you order online, we automatically defer to the pickup window. And so if you're in a hurry or you'd like to have your food your way, it's easy to fit it into your day. Okay, I'm gonna be at my desk at work. I'm gonna order food. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna go to the park, and I'm gonna enjoy sunshine for the first time after a long winter.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to be about eliminating that friction and improving that customer experience so that they don't have to worry about how it's going to work, ordering online versus and then picking it up. And obviously coming from the culinary background, how did the menu play a part in testing out this drive-through, if at all? Did you scale down the menu at all?
No, as a matter of fact, Piada's menu has been, pretty focused for a long time. At one point, we were a create your own concept, and that's all it was. But when you were using us as the first or second experience, and you didn't have a lot of time in with the brand, you could actually put together something that wasn't delicious. So about 5 or 6 years ago now, we created chef menu items, and that's kind of the backbone of what the guest orders off of. And then they create customization. They want the pasta carbonara, no spinach, or extra bacon, or hold the tomato. And then you can add your protein. So you can go from grilled salmon to crispy calamari to, house-made hot fennel sausage. So, you get to choose those pieces of protein on there.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of after that drive-through test pilot, are there any changes that you would make, or any mistakes or anything that you would learn from that you say, I would do that different next time?
Have good Wi-Fi, number one. Yeah, we had a lot of learnings, as we call it in the industry. We had a lot of learnings with connectivity. We had a lot of pieces that we had to go back and forth with our third-party provider for that. But it was a great learning tool, because I think that as we looked at real estate, it's actually allowed us, and you had talked a little bit earlier about, how does it affect, sizes of restaurants. Normally, and I would tell you 4 years ago, we would do a Piada anywhere from 25 to 3,000 square feet. We're going to open a Piada in Pittsburgh this summer, and it's going to be 1,500 square feet. It's going to be a pay first model, but you'll be able to sit inside the restaurant. There'll be a few seats inside the restaurant and in a nice size patio. So really testing the to-go setup in Cleveland really set us up for being able to do a pay first model. Now, not all of the Piada will do a pay first model, but I think it was our store in Akron that we opened several years ago. When we opened it, we were very busy, as it is with the VIP days. Everyone gives you the look-see. But the thing that I saw is the line was very long, but the dining room was very empty. So this has been a trend that has been working kind of as guests, fill their day with their busyness. They're taking our food or any brand's food into their experience and having it that way. So, it's been a long time coming. I don't think that there'll ever be a not need for the dining room experience, but I do think, and I do know as we look at real estate, that we're looking at much smaller dining rooms, probably 25 to 30% smaller. Now, the caveat of that is that, I think everyone expects that a lot of the construction costs will come out of the building, but as you build a restaurant, the least expensive spaces are the air that's between the tables. So I think that's kind of a wake-up call for everybody. They think the construction costs are going to go down 25, 30%, but that's not the case. You have all the machinery and the equipment and the hoods and those things that drive the cost of that.
So not necessarily a cost saver in the long run then.
Well, but you know what? Would you rather have a restaurant that looks busy most of the time or looks empty most of the time?
That's very true.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And as so many, as you say, like so many brands are rethinking their restaurant spaces and shrinking their spaces, or creating multiple prototypes that kind of are to go forward. So as restaurants are shrinking their spaces and ramping up drive-through in these offerings, do you think it will become harder to differentiate in this competitive environment? I mean, how do you differentiate if a lot of people are evolving in the same way?
Yes and no. And that's a great question. I was thinking about that question as you asked me. And I think part of what guests perceived as the brand, in the past was you had your decor and you had your food and you had your service. And that was what the brand kind of stood for before. But now there's a new way that people look at brands. They look at how a brand is in social responsibility, and what are their values, and are they sustainable? Do they so brands are being asked to show themselves a little bit different, but ultimately it's the flavor, right? If the flavor of the food isn't scrumptious, if it's not craveable, you're just going to have a hard time. You're going to be pushing water uphill. So the brands that do a great job with not just their food, but in the social media space and how they present themselves to the world, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult when your physical space can't give a full extension of it, but it still should be able to, right?
Yeah, it's all about that digital face, I guess, how you interact with customers online through social media or their experience even with ordering online. And so I guess the last thing I would ask is what's next for Piada, store footprint or otherwise?
Well, we're busy. We've been very fortunate to be a fast casual restaurant that stayed open as much as we could and serviced our guests during this horrible time this past year. And what it's really afforded us to do is to take a look at the landscape and really double down on regrowing the brand. So Piada took a little hiatus. We did a little walkabout, and we fixed some things as far as the food and the guest experience and some of the pieces that we needed to work on. But we are out there currently. We are going to be growing the company almost double the size in the next 3 years. And that's going to be a mix of, 1,500. We looked at an 1,800 square foot space and a 2,700 square foot space. So, in kind of a lot of environments, but we're going to generally stay in the markets that we're in, and we may break one or two new markets, but they're really going to be studied. We feel like we've got a good presence in our hometown of Columbus, but we're also in a lot bigger cities that we have a lot less stores. So the idea is to continue to build those teams out, continue to build a culture in those cities, and continue to bring a great brand to a lot of people. So we've got, for a little restaurant company with 40 restaurants, we're looking at adding upwards of 30 in the next 3 years. So we're going to be busy.